least that much in World of Warcraft cards, and not World of Warcraft, Magic the Gathering. I probably have at least $40,000 of decent cards that I need to sort through and probably sell them and buy NFTs with. But and yeah, so I'm looking at my shelf now, trying to see anything that people would even know of nowadays. But I have some pretty crazy art toys that I didn't collect the big wigs because I couldn't afford them at that time. So I collected people that were kind of unknown. And what ended up happening is those people got very expensive because they only released 500, whereas some of the bigger names would release 2,000. And then they came up, right? So I have a early, I don't know if you know who David Cho is.
Yes,
yeah, David Cho. He's the guy that painted. I mean, I don't want to just minimize what he's done to painting Facebook's office. He painted Facebook's office and got $300 million or something for it. But he sent me a whale, and so that's like my prized possession. I have like this little David Cho whale. So
that's super dope, man. I mean, we've mentioned that you have like a toy business. So how did that start?
So I was, I've been sketching and drawing stuff my whole life, and then I just really I'm not an edgy person. Like I would go to art shows and I would be the only guy that didn't fit in with like the art toy scene. I don't know if you know that there's like this edginess, and like and I grew up on a farm and I watched Smurfs way too long, right? So I don't have that edgy I don't have that edginess and like that street awareness. So I would go to these art shows in New York and I would feel like I was the big dork, right? And so, but it's true, right? So I would throw these art shows and then I would have to get up in front of all these people wearing like urban clothes, and I'm like, I don't fit in this world at all. I really don't. But my art was good, but I wasn't. I kind of am a socially awkward dude, and so I was like, well, let me start, instead of trying to like make edgy stuff, why don't I just make what I love? And I love cute stuff. So I started making cute stuff, and that is when it blew up, right? When I started like really doing what I love, instead of trying to make edgy stuff, then it just blew, like it started resonating with other people because they could tell that I was putting my heart and soul into it. And so then I had 3 or 4 toys kind of go viral. And I mean, I had some amazing days at comic cons where like I was selling them to where people would have to go out and grab boxes and run them into the booth. And by the time they would run them into the booth, I had already sold out. They had to run back to the truck and get more. But
wow.
Yeah,
so were all of your I guess previous projects, everything that you've pretty much been doing, including the line that you have going on Opensea, everything was under Beluga Bay, or were these like different projects?
This is a different project. I own a company called Spritelings.com, and it's a toy company that is, it's basically like a web comic / plush toy company. And so in early, and I'm getting ahead of myself with this, but I decided that I was, instead of like chasing that Walmart / Target, I would just stop production and keep everything that's in the warehouse and then switch it over to an NFT company. So I shut down, I took this big risk of shutting down my retail and keeping everything that's in the warehouse, waiting for my NFT business to take off. So what I'm trying to do now is get a big enough following to relaunch in the NFT space. But
And then you're going to build NFTs with a utility with the physical.
yeah, what I want to do is because of the nature of the Spritelings, they have their own universe. So I'm going to create these little RFID crystals that will connect right to the NFT.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's the
and
next level. That's
it's
next
already
level.
if you go to spritelings.com, you can see that we have these creatures in the Spritelings universe that power up these portals. So when somebody told me about how the NFT world works, I was like, oh my God, I've been building NFTs from like forever, right? And it's like this is what I've been doing. So the creatures called sea bunnies, which are going to be rebranded to be more NFT friendly, will be the power sources for the universe. And so they will have little crystal nodes that you collect. And so it's really going back to bringing the 80s collectible toys into existence. So
See, I'm trying to get to it. You're saying Sprite link
Spritelings,
links. Okay.
SPRITLINGS.
Gotcha.
And if you can see the madness that is the world that I've created there that isn't on NFTs yet.
Wow, super dope, man.
Yeah, it's fun.
Man, I mean, it seems like I like that when you mentioned that you were when you changed and you changed your approach and you went with what was resonating with you. That's when you saw the growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that it's crazy because I'm a big believer in if you do what you like and you put your focus, it'll be easier for you to work harder at it because that's what you like. You're not really concerned about what that's popular or that's in. You're just doing what's passionate to you.
Exactly.
And obviously it resonated with you, and it comes off as natural to other people, and you're being real.
Yeah, I think my biggest asset as a creative type is that I am able to build worlds, and first and foremost, I'm a world builder, and then everything, and a creature creator, and then everything else kind of fell into place. And I think I always, if you remember, there's this song by TLC, "Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls." That was always my mindset because I was always chasing something that wasn't really me. And when I really kind of stuck and started really believing in what I did, and did well, is when I saw the growth. Like not just a little bit of growth. It was like growth that I couldn't even understand. And like there's one day that I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing anymore because these are selling out so fast, right? So yeah, and but yeah, so yeah, I think if anybody's listening to this, if you're trying to be somebody that you're not, just be who you are, and just love what you create, and be a fan of your own work, right? First and foremost, we have like creative people that kind of have self-loathing, and you really have to just love what you make, and then everything else kind of falls into place. Be your own fan. And that's one thing I'm my own number one fan. And I think that it's almost become like an ego thing to me. It's like but I would rather be that way than have no self-confidence at all. I mean, it's that's been the thing that's helped me through the darker periods of running a toy company, and there are some very dark periods of running a toy company, as you can imagine. The logistics of having something made in like 3,000 miles from you, you know.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, what would you say? You know, it's very interesting to me because I lived in Atlanta as well, and just Georgia outskirt, you know, small towns as well. So it's very interesting to me when you know, you set a mental picture of someone coming from pretty much a rural / suburban upbringing to, you know, not having the most connections in the world, not the most money in the world, but somehow knowing that New York City, you know, putting a project together, a gallery of some kind, is where you still need it to be to really get your project to shine, or downtown Atlanta, Peachtree area, whatever it was. Like, what I want to know is how and what clicked off in your head to where it's like, all right, I got these ideas, I got this art. What was the thing that you would say is the starting point, or was it a connection you made with someone that showed you what to do? What was the thing that changed it from being just a concept and an idea to like, okay, now this is business?
Well, inside, I don't know how much you know about Atlanta, but there's a kind of creative neighborhood called Little Five Points.
Yes.
And so we would drive into Little Five Points, and there were artists everywhere. Like, you know, it was crazy.
I love it.
And one day when I was, you know, like 16 years old, there were this group of kind of like improvising artists / like a theater group on the street, and it was a pretty dangerous time to be in that part of the city. But they were out, and they were just doing what they loved, right? They were performing, they were like rapping, they were spray painting, they were doing all kinds of stuff. And something just clicked in me there, right? I saw a different way of living. And so I went home and I was like, I don't even know what I had seen, right? It was like this creative, and people were giving them money, right? People were walking by and giving them some money just because they were performing. And I didn't have a performative bone in my body, but I knew I could draw, and I knew I could build worlds. And I think that was what clicked with me, because Little Five Points was kind of like going to Oz. If you lived on a farm, you know, you went into the big city, and back in the day, Atlanta was a crazy festive place, right? You would like go into, you know, so I think that was the kind of turning point of me living on a farm and then going into the city and seeing that kind of stuff. And then what got me in the toy company is I was walking into this like toy store, and I saw this character, and my friend looked over at me and he said, "That looks exactly like a toy like something you've drawn." And he's like, do you have anything? And it just happened to be something that looked very similar to what I draw. And that was it. I knew that I had to make toys, right? I had to make a physical form of it. And so I went home and I pulled out the sewing machine, and I had a bunch of clothes that were going to Goodwill. And so I just yanked those clothes out and I started making prototypes with the clothes. And I literally did not know how to sew, right? I was like, I don't know how this works. But I went on YouTube like everybody else does, and I learned how to sew. So I made a bunch of prototypes, and then I went to the Comic-Con and I sold them. And these were my clothes for, you know.
You literally went to Comic-Con with these prototypes with 10, 20 of these things. What did you do? Did you have them like in boxes, like labels, everything look official, or you just had like these dolls in your hand?
It just looked janky, man. It was like I had I mean, now that I look back, it was probably an OSHA violation, right? Because I had all these dirty ass,
Did you
dirty,
sterilize this first before you gave it?
dirty clothes, you know? And so I had just lost a bunch of weight too. So it was a lot of fabric. Yeah. And so this is the turning point. I went to this Comic-Con. It was like in this really sketchy part of town. And I just took a piece of fabric and I put it over the table and I put all my toys out, and I sold out in 20 minutes.
Wow.
Like instantly. And I was like, okay, I'm on to something, you know? And so yeah, that was when I knew if I can sell my dirty ass clothes, then I think I can make it. You know,
First on machine run, you know.
I mean, they were horrible, but the kids just went nuts for them, man. It was like, and it was one of those aha moments that I knew that I had something.
So what happened after that point to where, you know, you're like, all right, I know I got something. What did you do next?
So I went home and I did what every business owner does, that has like a little bit of a success too early, and I went too hard, too fast.
Too fast. What'd you do? You like went to the fabric store, picked all the wrong prints?
Oh no, it was way worse than that. Man.
Oh,
it was way worse. I mean, it gets way worse. I mean, I got on the phone and I said, hey, I've got this plan. So I got an investor. That's where I went wrong. And the investor said, all right, well, here's some money, and let's go directly to this manufacturer, and we'll get two of your designs made, and we'll send it to China, and we'll get, we'll go hard, we'll go fast and hard, right? And let's just say I went from selling out at a Comic-Con to having a toy on shelves within 6 months. And that is not how you should do it, right? I mean, that's just not how you should do it. Now that I look back, I did not have the placement, the legal stuff, the logistics done. I did not have a solid business plan at the time. And it was just, I just had that wanting to sell out again, right? That wanted that sell out. And once you get that sellout, it's like this addiction. And so I know what these NFT, I mean, we haven't hit the NFT market yet, but I know what it feels like to sell out. And so that is a feeling that nobody can, that I bet very few people get, right? To put something on the table and have people scramble over something you've created. So mistakes were made. I did not release. I mean, let's be honest. I went from like making denim freaking toys to working with manufacturers in 6 months, right? Somebody should have sat me down and said, slow down. Let's do one toy. Let's really get it to where, let's do a little bit of marketing. And but I didn't do that, and I released 2 toys that kind of bombed, like super bombed. I mean, I still have them to this day in the warehouse. So
those I guess connections that were there in between you, the investor, and this manufacturer, and this thing coming to production and life and on shelves, which then is a distribution deal, I'm guessing. Like, who knew how to navigate all these different spaces? Was it the one investor and he's just like, oh, I got people in China? How did it all work with, again, you being just you, creative dude, watching the Smurfs too long?
I'm a very fast learner, right? I'm like ridiculously, if the problem with me is I learn, you give me something and I'll learn it like instantly, and then I'm off to something new. I'm more like a visionary. with
Right.
not a lot of staying power. Because I'm like, my ADD is super strong, but I have a superpower. If I had a superpower, it would be picking stuff up very fast.
That was
So
actually one of our questions. All right.
yeah, if I had a superpower, you could set me in front of like a code or a process, and I'm going to pick it up. And will I know it 5 days from now? Probably not. But for that day, I can
Right.
pick it up. Yeah.
Got it.
And so all I had to do is get the name of a manufacturer, and I was all over it. I was like, all right. And then I got a name of a logistics company that we get it from China to my doorstep. And then I was like, all right, let's do it. And the investor was like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And the investor had these legal things that he wanted done. And so that's where it got muddy, right? It's like, you know, it needs to be this, it needs to be that. There's all these hoops that I had to jump through. And it comes down to it's just me and an investor. And so I'm like managing the logistics, the design, the talking to China, who doesn't wake up until 11 o'clock you know, so I'm staying up till 11 o'clock. And then so China's pushing you to make vinyl toys, like, oh, you're doing so well, let's do vinyl toys. That is a lot of money, right? So I went from having sell out of the Comic-Con to in a year having a vinyl toy made, having you know, but have a huge, you know, I just went too fast, right? I was just like on fire. And I was having these ups and downs with sales. Like I would release this toy and it would do really well, and I release the next one without any marketing, and then this one wouldn't do as well, and I wouldn't understand why. And I didn't delegate to anyone for me to say, why is this not working? You know, but then I did have weird situations where people couldn't tell me why the things went viral, right? I would have marketers that would come and say, we don't know why this went viral. And you know, so, and I still don't know. I had some toys that I put out there and had no anticipation that they would be popular, and they sold $6,000 in one day, you know. And if I had a lot of them, I would have sold $1 million worth of them. But yeah.
Wow,
So
it's super dope, man. I
it's
mean,
crazy.
just and it's funny how you saw success in the very beginning. You know, you saw you got to sell out, and then you put gasoline on it, foot down on that pedal, you know, because you want to duplicate that, and just, you know, let's you know, strike while the iron's hot. And then it wasn't, you weren't able to really get that same result back.
It's because I wasn't like dealing with reality. I was dealing in that like sense of yeah, I mean, I wasn't really fully aware of what I was doing, you know, because you just get into this creative nightmare of like, I just want to hit that. I want that feeling of selling out again, you know.
Right. You just want to get there. You want to go from A to Z, and letters in between, you're like not too interested in as much.
And so I reached out to what I would consider my mentors in the toy company, and I said, listen, I'm struggling, right? And I had some contacts with some very big players in the modern modern world, like super, like billionaires. And so I was like, can you tell me how I can make this successful? And they couldn't tell me, right? And I was like, are you really telling me that you're a billionaire toy person, but you don't know how to get me from point A to point B? And And so I kept running into these people that would be like, well, you're not going to make it. I mean, you're not, you know, it's like, you don't have, it's not that the toys weren't good. It was how many steps that you have to do to get onto the shelves and Target,
Get it to
right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you go into a toy store and you see a toy sitting on that shelf, you have to know that that person went through probably like eight, 9 gates of hell to get where they are, right? You
Right.
know, it's
Right.
very difficult. Or they're just really lucky. You know, it's like it's either a slog, or they have they already have a lot of money to get like get the buyers for Target or whatever to see it. But yeah, it's but that being said, I'm not trying to discourage somebody to follow their dreams. Just don't do what I did, right? You know, plan it out a little better. And don't, and I go all in with everything, man. It's like, if I could do it again, I would probably just do it the same way. Even if somebody told me not to do it this way, you know, they say, hey, I just have this like fatalistic excitement about toys, right? And it's like I just go crazy when I see, and so I'm with NFTs. The beauty of that is I can slow down and know that I don't have to deal with customs, or I mean, there's other issues, you know, but the biggest problem that I had that almost literally bankrolled me was somebody labeled one of my toys as live animals, and so they got to customs, and customs called me and said, you're shipping in these this like warehouse full of live animals. I'm like, no, they didn't, they translated it wrong. Please don't burn these. And customs burned them.
What?
My whole, like a whole like thing of toys, custom set those on fire because they thought they were shipped with live animals. So
they basically thought they were killing animals.
Wait, what the?
On top of that,
I don't know, but they incinerated a whole tractor trailer of my toys, and so luckily that my community of toy collectors got behind me and said that they would wait until I got the toys remade, which is another 2 months, right? So
but did they like reimburse you for that? How does all that work? Like, how?
No, they don't reimburse you. Like if you get your customs wrong coming into this country, you're gonna have a very bad day. And it comes into Chicago. They came into Chicago, and they sat on a tarmac for, I don't know, 30 days with me panicking. You know, I've got something like $12,000 in toys sitting there, and this is just one release, right? And when you're operating a toy company and somebody comes and tells you $12,000 is sitting on a tarmac and they're about to incinerate them, you don't sleep for about a week, right? Because I mean, at that point, that 12 grand would have bankrolled my product line, you know. So it wouldn't have bankrolled me,
Right.
but it would have I wouldn't have gotten out of that. But so.
Wow. And then it's a certain amount of noise that you make within the community just from having a successful project. You know, every time you do that, it builds momentum. It gets more eyes on you. You know, you end up a big